What is the creepiest glitch in the Matrix you've experienced? A close friend of mine and I telling each other about our dream last night and them being exactly the same and even featuring each other and them, like we were connected. We were both running from a tornado when it ripped off the roof of a white house with red tiles and we were trapped outside, so we huddled close to the ground together. I don't remember much else, but it was seriously weird. I was watching TV with my dad. It was movie with Robert Redford and there was scene his character was playing snooker or something and my dad made a funny comment about it. I laugh. Few minutes later I went to kitchen and heard my dad making the same comment with the same voice second time. Rushed back to the TV room and there is the same scene from few minutes ago. I didn't laughed. Goosebumps all over my body instead. Next day I asked him about it. He said there was TV transmission glitch. And as he knows my fav movie is Matrix, he made this perfect déjà vu joke. He said my shock was priceless. Yet my dad is a troll. Sounds like a bad case of déjà vu. I was flying back from my mother's place after my father died. I was out of money. I had just been able to get the flight and car on my credit card. I drove to the airport just before midnight to return the car on time. Then slept and waited at the airport for 12 hours. I caught my first leg to Texas and was waiting for the final flight. At this point I hadn't had anything but a Coke and some peanuts for 18 hours. I dig through my pockets and bag and come up with about $1.50 and go down the concourse to find some cheese crackers or something. I see this burger place with racks of snacks, so I head that way. As I round the corner, the place is nearly empty. There's one guy standing at the counter signaling the cashier to wait, and he's looking straight at me, like he was waiting for me. He gives a little nod and I move up near them. He orders a full meal and drink and says that ought to get you home. He takes the water he bought for himself and walks out, never to be seen again. I was just confused and didn't even have time to thank him. He wasn't on my first flight. He was distinctive looking and I would have noticed. I had been in an out of the way corner of the airport, so I'm pretty sure he hadn't seen me before. I hadn't spoke with anyone about my predicament. WHO the frick was that guy? And when I got home, my phone died when I tried to make a call for pickup. I used most of that $1.50 to use a payphone. Honestly, I rarely think about it. It gives me the same feeling as the double slit experiment, that I don't really understand anything going on around me. My great uncle died. He left a collection of matchbooks from expensive hotels around the world, hundreds of them in a glass bowl. I dug around in the bowl hoping to find a Zippo lighter. There was no reason for me to think there was a Zippo in the bowl. I dug and dug through the huge pile and found nothing. As I walked away I realized I was holding a Zippo lighter in my hand. I have no memory of finding or taking the lighter out of the bowl. Let me just get this Zippo out of the way so I can keep looking for that Zippo. Brains are dumb. When I was a child I slept on a bunk bed even though I didn't have any friends that came over or anything. One night, I had a nightmare that something was under my bed. Cliché, I know, but after waking up I decided I wouldn't bother my parents and just go back to sleep. As I'm laying there trying to get the nightmare out of my head, I feel a finger tap on my shoulder, as if to get my attention. I immediately flipped out because there was nothing but a wall behind me. My mom's boyfriend said it must have been a spider, but no way a spider has that kind of weight to its walking. I got a long voicemail message from a person named Liz addressing me by name saying we haven't talked in so long and to call her back so we can catch up. I don't even know a Liz. I have no idea how she got my number either. I was at the beach once and my friends and I were out on the boat. We saw my friend, his girlfriend, and his 3 brothers out on the boat and we invited them to come over to our house when they were done. After about 2 hours I called him and asked if he was coming. He said he would if he hadn't been working all day. He had been 2 hours away in our hometown the entire day. We asked people he'd been with and they confirmed it. Still don't know what the frick happened. Everyone insists it was a dream. I was coming from work and went to my apartment. There is 2 apartments per floor. I am in the lobby waiting for the elevator and Regine, my neighbor, gets out of it. We have a small talk and she tells me she is going to a repartee concert. I get into the elevator and went to my floor. Door opens and waiting for the elevator was Regine again. When I was in high school, our theater did a 24-hour theater performance where you literally have 24 hours to write and perform a short play. This includes script, costumes, set, blocking, and rehearsal. Anyway, me and 2 other writers were sitting in my drama teacher's office while everyone slept, working on the script. We wrote for maybe 8-10 hours. We were listening to some lofi playlists so we could zone out and work. At some point, we all just skipped time. A song played, called Wake Up, and we all heard it. Then about 30 minutes later, one of the guys is like, hey, play that last song again, referring to Wake Up. Immediately I know what song he's talking about. I hit the rewind button, thinking that the song that actually played half an hour ago was the previous song. It took a while to find it on the playlist. We were all really freaked out about it, considering all of us were missing about a half-hour chunk of time. Still gives me chills to listen to that song. First, when I started my new job, HR needed an actual SS card and not just the number. So I went to the local SS card issuing office to get a reissue. I drew my number to wait. I was walking towards an open seat. Out the corner of my eye I see a younger looking man, probably 18 or so. Once I got a good look at him, it took me a second to realize this kid looked just like me when I was 18. Similar hair, similar style of clothing, and similar size. What was interesting was that he had some of the features that I have presently now, as in he had an extremely similar tattoo in the same location that I had and even the same piercings in the same location as me. The thing is, I didn't get the tattoo and piercings till I was in my 20s. The creepy part was that he didn't say hi or how are you like you would say to a stranger you're greeting. Instead, he said hey, it's good to see you again, as if we knew each other. I was stunned and was only able to get out a hey how's it going. Then he got up and walked past me, and when I went to turn around and wasn't there, I still think about that moment at times. If there was a person and place to be to get my identity stolen, it would have been with him at the Social Security office. The second. My name is John. This ties in later. Back when I was like 15 or so, back visiting my grandparents and cousins, I was in a small district of Zhejiang, which is in Kaohsiung, Taiwan, but a bit more rundown. I was by myself one day just walking around the streets that I grew up on, listening to a podcast or audiobook I think, looking at the ground. I knew the area enough to not walk into the middle of the street. I decide to turn down into an empty, dead-end alley that I never walked down before when I was younger. Still looking at the ground and listening to the story on the podcast but not really focusing on it, I hear loudly, from what seems like my earbuds, John, look up. Instinctively I did, because my name is John. So I stopped and looked up. In front of me, like 2-4 inches from my face, is a skinny piece of rebar right at my eye level. There was no one around me to warn me of that, nor would they have said it in English. Felt like some higher being was looking out for me that day. So my sister was murdered when I was young, and she had given me a little troll doll with the crazy red hair that stands up, and it had my shaky 5-year-old writing with my initials on the foot. It was my lucky charm and I took it everywhere with me. Flash forward to me being 17 and going to a high school party. I had it in the pocket of my leather jacket and I left the jacket at the party. I was devastated as it was the only thing I had that was mine from my sister. Looked everywhere, asked anyone who was at the party if they had seen my jacket. It was gone. Flash forward to this year. My mum has moved into a smaller house, so I have the crate filled with my sister's belongings. I cleared it out and stored it all properly because the crate was falling apart. It was completely empty when I was done. A week later we are taking the crate to the tip, and just before we threw it into the tip I opened the lid. In the middle of the floor of the crate that I was 100% sure was empty was my troll doll with my writing on the foot that I lost 8 years before at a party. I had a dream that a good friend of mine died. We were both sitting on a concrete wall, and on one side was our universe and the other side was sort of like a bright light. I couldn't really see into it. We sat there on the for a while and then he went the other way to me. I woke up and felt really sick, so I checked when he was last active on Facebook. It said he was active, so I called him and told him about my dream. We laughed about it and he reassured me that he wasn't dead, and I went back to sleep. 1 week later exactly he died in his sleep, aged 21. I don't know if it counts, but I remember my parents taking me home from school a long time ago, and we go down the same road we've probably gone down 100 times and everything looks different. Like small variations of the same landmarks. Like a car that's always parked in this one house had a different color. A place that didn't have a fence suddenly had one. and an empty lot suddenly had a house. My parents thought we were lost, but we eventually made it back to the main road. I think we might gone through a time slip parallel universe. I've gone that road again multiple times just to prove myself wrong or slip through one more time. When I was a kid, we had a bar in our finished basement. My parents never really used it, but we had a ton of glasses on the shelves behind it that needed dusting every so often. One day my mom tasked me with wiping down the glasses, and I was down there working behind the bar for a good 30 minutes or so. When I finished, I was cleaning up and I looked down and there was broken glass all over the floor, covered in sticky dried soda like it had been there for quite a while. I'd been cleaning barefoot. I had so many questions. How could I not have noticed it? How did I manage to not step on a single shard of broken glass? It was freaky. The date, month, day my brother was born is the same as our grandma. The date he died is also the same as hers. The odds of that happening are 1 in 133,225. Years ago, before I met my wife and had my daughter, I had 3 dreams in one night where I had a daughter. First one, she was a newborn, next a toddler, and lastly an adult. All 3 felt very lifelike, and I woke up from each with this huge feeling of love and emotion. I felt like I missed her the rest of the day following the dreams. I forgot about it eventually until I had my daughter. It all came back and it was the same feeling as the first dream I had. She is 5 now and I still get that feeling. It could, probably, be just a coincidence, but I feel like I had a vision of my future that night. The biggest reason I feel like that is the case is my daughter has blonde hair and blue eyes. I remember that sticking out in my dream because nobody in mine or my wife's family has blonde hair. I am a redhead and she a brunette. Like I said, could be a coincidence, but it felt real then and now. Was FaceTiming with my GF when my eye could hear my boss. His phone somehow could hear and see us, as he seemed just as confused. To this day I think he hacked in somehow to see her naked or some crap, but no clue, like why would he be talking? It was very strange. Back in the early 90s when my cousin and I would talk on the phone, landlines of course, to each other all day long, we heard someone else talking for about a 3-day period. It was a male voice and of course now I don't remember anything that he was saying. He couldn't hear us, though, and we couldn't hear the other person he was talking to. It was very clear, as there was some static with it. You have been visited by the Doggo Beer Master. Comment delicious, so you will always have beer in your life. If you are new to the channel you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video.